Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's edition, Kyle Bauer visits with Ken Woods to talk about Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean update. Next, Duane Toews and Harold Newcomb from Merck Animal Health talk about the importance of controlling parasites. Then it's this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update, and we'll end with Plain Talk featuring Kyle and Duane. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Duane Toews and Sharon Page talk about the outstanding farmers of America.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I get an opportunity to visit with Ken Woods. He's one of the founders of Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Ken, it's a unique story. Tell us how you came to found Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center.
Well, it is a strange story. We, business partner and I, we were just two patients. I had bad knees, he had bad knees and elbows, and we met a veterinarian that was doing stem cell therapy in horses and dogs. And we asked him, why don't they do this in people? He said, well, they do, but you got to go to Beverly Hills, California to get it done. We made the trek to Beverly Hills, was treated, came back, went right back to work, and it was just 3 months, 6 months later, we just were amazed by the results. And we knew that none of our friends would go to Beverly Hills, California to get this done, and we just felt like, the farmers and ranchers, especially in the state of Kansas, needed something like this. So crazy enough, we found some physicians that were forward thinking enough to try something new, and we started 4.5 years ago, and we have a location in Manhattan. We just opened a location in Overland Park the last year, and so just continues to grow, and we continue to help people.
Well, talking about helping people, what sort of things can you help people with the stem cell therapy?
So the main things that we treat is osteoarthritis. So if you have arthritis in your knees, hips, shoulders, that is probably the biggest thing that we treat. There's a lot of other things that we do treat. We treat some autoimmune diseases, but mainly it's osteoarthritis. Mainly it's joint pain, backs. We treat more backs than anybody in the country, and we've still have the same success rate. I think our backs are still 80 to 85% successful, just like our knees and hips.
Now, you mentioned 80 to 85% successful. There isn't a guarantee, and most people will see results, but not everyone does.
Yeah, and that's something we really try to get across to the patients. We don't want someone coming in with knowing that we're going to heal them. We can't make those guarantees. We see that it works most of the time, but our doctors will turn away a third of the patients because they don't think they can help them. If it's too far gone, our physicians, they don't want to treat them.
Technically, it's still considered experimental.
Correct. It's something that's been done overseas for 15 years, 20 years, but in the U.S., they still consider it an experimental procedure. Because they can't quantify why the stem cells are doing what they're doing. And so until they can get $1 billion to get that through the FDA, they're going to consider it experimental.
And being experimental, it's not covered by insurance.
It's cash only. And the one thing I saw when I was treated was, it cost $8,900. It was a lot of money, but I had 5 knee surgeries myself. Every time I paid that deductible of $2,000 to $3,000 and had average results, this has been the best money I spent on any surgery that I've had.
Visiting with Ken Woods, he is president of Kansas Regenerative Medicine. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Duane. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean update.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamandkansas.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn, for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Frances Graves is joining us. She is a Kansas Common Ground volunteer and rancher from Bartlett, Kansas. And what is the main purpose of Kansas Common Ground?
Our main goal is just to help people enjoy their food without fear. We're a group of women farmers who volunteer to serve as a resource for real firsthand information on how we grow our food and agriculture in general for people who don't understand it.
There are many to the consumer, many myths and misconceptions out there, which that's where you guys come into play?
Correct. No one knows food better than a farmer, and there are a lot of people who are just detached from farming these days. So our goal is just to have one-on-one conversations, either online or in person, with consumers who are out there and away from the farm, and they may have questions.
And if they go to the website, findourcommonground.com, what's so interesting about that is it really covers many different topics.
We have over 200 volunteers nationwide. We have about 15 in Kansas, and we cover topics ranging from animal welfare, pigs, cows, a lot of stuff we don't see in Kansas. And then people can come in and just write in an individual question, and we'll get them an answer on that website as well.
With so many more food choices that are available, that really expands the number of topics that you would like to cover as well?
We're always updating it, just like how farmers are continuously improving our growing practices to keep up to date. Common Ground is trying to continuously put out new information as we have new products and new questions in the food marketplace.
Do you have events throughout the year that they can be a part of?
We sure do. We've got 3 events coming up in Kansas this spring and summer. We've got an event in Junction City at the Hildebrand Dairy in April, and we've got a Yoga on the Farm event in Lawrence, Kansas in June, and we have an event in Manhattan coming up in April that's meet and greet at the meat market there in Manhattan, and all of those details can be found on our website. It's Common Ground Kansas, commongroundks.com for the Kansas details.
Common Ground was really developed from 2 checkoffs, both on the soybean side and on the corn side. Why is it important to continue to develop this program?
Well, farmers and ranchers are busy in the field. They're doing their job every day. We have organizations like Common Ground that go out there and try to meet these consumers where they are on their social platforms and in the grocery stores and places where they shop and answer their questions and promote the message that we're all working hard to produce a safe and affordable and varied food supply.
That is Frances Graves, a Kansas Common Ground volunteer and a rancher from Bartlett, Kansas. She joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more as Kyle Bauer interviews Mitch Heisler.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn more about Whiffle's hybrids with Kyle Bauer and Mitch Heisler.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Dr. Harold Newcomb with Merck Animal Health. And Dr. Newcomb, we think about opportunities in the cattle industry to alleviate some of those hidden robbers of profitability. When we think about parasite control, that's a great place to start, and from Merck's perspective.
You bet. I mean, if we think about what parasites actually do to animals, we actually know that we have to control parasites to make us profitable. If you think about parasites too, think about that they affect every segment of the cattle production system, whether you're a cow-calf guy, a stocker guy, or even a feedlot guy. Parasites are going to have an impact on your bottom line. So controlling them is a must. It's not an option.
We think about typically we see flies, for example. It's pretty readily available if the cattle aren't comfortable, if they're bunching up. That's pretty easy to see and diagnose. But on the internal parasite side, it's a little more opaque for us to try and make some of those decisions and really understand when we're losing dollars.
Well, it is, because really most internal parasitism or GI parasitism is actually in the form of subclinical parasitism. In other words, the animals aren't really clinically ill from the parasites, but we're still seeing those production losses. The biggest thing that the parasite is doing to that animal is causing a reduction of feed intake. And when those animals don't eat, they don't perform. And those production losses can come in the form of decreased conception rates, decreased weaning weights, increased time for those cattle taking to finish. All those things can come in and cause production losses that we see.
Not only on those physical characteristics about those losses that we have, but organ meats and actual harvest losses are potential as well.
Yeah, the parasitized animal, the hot carcass weights will not be generally as high, and we can see lower not only yield grades but quality grades as well. So it's important that we actually go out and try and strategically control these parasites. You know, if you're a cow-calf guy, like right now, it's in the fall, you may have already dewormed your cattle and pregnancy checked and done all this, but because of the weather we've had, it's been conducive to parasite transmission. So if this was done, say, back in late August, September, maybe even earlier October, those animals have had a chance to go back out and probably reparasitize. So it's important that we go back and we check and make sure what we're doing has actually worked and the animals do have a low parasite burden in them.
Now, you referenced being targeted in our approach. We hear some things about resistant parasites and things of that nature. Making sure that we get the job done is pretty important as well.
It is, and the way we do that is we recommend that the producers do a fecal egg count reduction test, okay? And that's where they take 20 samples 20 fecal samples the day they deworm, and then 20 more again in that same group 14 days later. What we're trying to do is see a 90% reduction or greater in that egg count. If we see that, we know we've had a successful deworming. If we hadn't, we probably need to go ask ourselves a few questions. Number one, did we deworm the animals correctly? In other words, did we put the product on or in the animal the way it was supposed to be? And then did we put the right amount on? Because, you know, if we're dosing on the average weight, we're overdosing half, but we're underdosing half as well. So it's not only important to make sure we're getting the right dose, but getting the right dose applied or in the animal as well.
Final thoughts from Merck Animal Health about parasites and control?
Well, parasite control is vital. It should be the cornerstone of every producer's animal health program. You need to make sure what you're doing is working, and you ought to be working with a veterinarian to make sure that your anthelmintic or deworming program is sustainable and working.
All right, thanks to Dr. Harold Newcomb with Merck Animal Health joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Kyle. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Join us April 6th for the Gardner Angus Ranch 40th Anniversary Spring Production Sale at the ranch near Ashland, Kansas. The sale will feature 342 registered bulls, 386 registered females, and 532 bred Gardner Angus influenced commercial females. The sale will start at 9 a.m. sharp. If you are unable to join us in person, you can bid online by going to liveauction.tv and register prior to the sale. At Gardner Angus Ranch, you aren't just buying a breed, you are buying a brand backed by 4 generations of disciplined seed stock production. We hope to see you April 6th at the ranch.
Mark your calendars for Tuesday, March 26th in Beloit, where the first ever Stock Growers Field Day will be held by K-State Research and Extension, the Kansas Livestock Association, and the Kansas Bull Test. The event will be highlighted by a market outlook from Cattle Facts, as well as a presentation from well-known reproductive physiologist Dr. Rick Funston, where he speaks about increasing production efficiency. From there, we'll also play host to over 30 ag-based businesses in the trade show and enjoy breakout sessions where producers can listen to speakers on topics that apply directly to their operation. This event should cater to producers of all size and scale and offer a social aspect as well, so we look forward to seeing you there for the inaugural Stock Growers Field Day in North Central Kansas.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Farm Bureau update.
As you all know, we rolled out this effort in Senate Bill 32 initially. That measure passed the Kansas Senate 28-11, which is a great margin for us and a great victory. We then went to the House Insurance Committee in the second chamber of the legislature and got a little hung up there on some procedural motions and other, and decided to leave Senate Bill 32 behind and move to another vehicle through the Senate again, which is Senate substitute for House Bill 2143. That is a combined measure. It has some language that deals with association health plans and allowing other groups in the state to develop products for their membership, but also it has the exact same language that was originally in Senate Bill 32. So we're hoping to see that measure move through the Senate this week and then next week through the House as well. What that allows us to do in the bigger scope of things is develop the list of products that we hope to roll out later this year in the September-October timeframe. That would be 4 products in nature: a Medicare supplement plan, a dental vision bundle, a short-term product probably in the 180-day range, and this under 65 non-traditional, non-compliant product that we're working for the legislative authority to offer.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I wanted to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to today on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk, with the man who understands there is seldom a horse that everyone believes is the best in the herd, Duane Toews.
You know, that's an interesting point.
I actually thought about that a while, and I think
I really thought about that. But if you stick 15 head of saddle horses in a pen, you got sorrels and buckskins and a black one and a paint, and you take 5 guys and you walk up there and you tell them to pick out their horse, but they have to write it down on a piece of paper. Odds are they probably pick 5 different horses out of those 15.
Well, I'll give you one better. Let's say they all get to ride all the horses.
Oh.
And then they pick one. I will bet you they'll all still pick 5 different horses.
Probably true.
That's like in my little herd of 5. I love my horse. I love LT. Almost no one else loves LT. Everybody says it's kind of like the rider and the horse are both on crack.
They fit together.
They fit together, but I love LT. And I think most other people would pick a horse.
Something else.
Something else other than LT. So.
Your fact or fiction question of the day, Kyle Bauer. The indigenous tribes of Australia are known for eating witchetty grubs. Fact or fiction?
Well, there's a lot of people eat grubs. And I don't know what a witchetty is. Surely you wouldn't do something as dastardly as name a different grub. I'll go with true.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Eating grubs. They're pretty high in protein, from what I understand. They're pretty high in moisture.
Okay, I am known for eating insects. But I don't do it for free.
It's going to cost you.
I do it for money.
To see it
but
happen.
I will tell you, nobody has ever asked me to eat
a grub.
So I don't even know what they taste like, because I'm not eating one.
You got a price point in mind?
Oh, that'd be a $5 one.
A $5?
A nice meaty one.
$5?
I mean, if he's just a little grub that I could just swallow, it's like,
next time we're out doing something and I come across a board on the ground and we flip it over and there's one of those big white grubs, $5, it'd be worth it to see that.
So far, the $5 is a lot, and I mean, I don't think I've ever been paid more than $5 to eat it. And the hardest one was a praying mantis.
Did you have to eat legs?
Well, that was it. I mean, it's just
they're kind of prickly. It's hard to get them down.
And let's face it, all these insects I eat are live.
Yeah.
So
at one point,
you got kind of a lot of appendages there.
Right up there to the end.
Yeah, and so anybody that says they've never eaten an insect, I would say is naive or lying.
Yeah, they're naive.
Yeah.
They just don't understand how many they have had in their food supply.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with them.
And we have the greatest food supply in the world right here in the United States.
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
But the realities are there are allowances in food, and it's all written down somewhere for how many
bug parts.
Insect
Because when you harvest a
whole.
field of grain, there are insects out there.
Right.
And the insects end up in with the grain, and it's not like they're hurting the grain or anything, but they end up in there, and so they probably die at some point prior to processing, but then you got the bug parts.
Sure.
So it's okay.
You'll
be
pick up
fine.
a few in storage and such
for all
as
those
that.
people who are dyed-in-the-wool vegetarians that wouldn't eat a live animal part,
well, they're
sorry.
going to eat dead animal
You're eating
parts.
dead. Yeah,
instead.
I personally have never eaten a live animal part.
No.
All the animals have been dead. I actually am a vegetarian. I just prefer that all my food is processed first through a cow. Yeah, eat all those vegetables by the cow, and then that's how I process.
That's how I prefer my native grass.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.